Hey everybody, Dirili here. Thank you so much for joining me for another episode of X Malice along Kei Okazaki's route. My big beautiful puppy dog with his adorable emojis. God, he's just the sweetest, cutest thing. Alright, anyway, trying to save the next X-Day victim, seeing what we can do. You can just sit back, relax, and let me read you a story.
I see. So, you're here for my input.
When we explained everything to Shiraishi, he leaned in curiously, as if an interesting game had caught his attention. Should I dig deeper into the past? There's no end of information and we're running out of time.
Among the people tied to scandals you found, are there any that you think could be targeted?
Huh? Why?
Sanjo quit 5 years ago, correct? I doubt he's interested in events before then. Based on what you've told me, it's not like his irritation with the police has mellowed out any since he left. You shouldn't be looking for scandals that happened after he quit, rather than before.
I see. That makes sense. Yeah, shouldn't we have thought of that before? We didn't? Shiraishi, do you think any of these people would be targets?
Wouldn't it be boring if I just told you?
No, it'd be helpful. No. Plus, boring isn't really the issue here.
But I can only work with the indirect information that you've given me. Tell me your thoughts after you met with Sanjo. Without that, I can't help.
Even though you need that information, it's still all tangled up in my head. Then let's sort through those thoughts one at a time. Do we get another quiz then, basically? Okazaki helpfully chimed in. I nodded.
Then, let's begin with the changing nature of the crimes that have happened in December. What have the December incidents so far had in common?
They weren't well planned, and were carried out in a way to dispose of Adonis pawns, right?
Oh, you answer quickly. So you do use your brain. I'm surprised.
You dick. Oh, please don't make so much fun of me. That's right, Shiraishi. Ichika can perform when it counts. Okazaki, that's not very encouraging. Huh? Sorry. Anyway, you can't tease her without my permission, Shiraishi.
Aww.
Does that mean he can tease me if he does have your permission? It's fine. I won't give in. Okay.
You two get along quite well.
I realized that Shiraishi had a surprised look on his face. You weren't expecting this, huh? Yeah, we get along really well. He's causing a misunderstanding again.
I figured you for the silly type, Okazaki. Who knows what might happen?
Huh?
Anyway, let's return to the topic. A common thread between the December incidents. There's another one besides those you mentioned.
Oh, there is?
Yeah, I'll give you a hint. Today, they're going to announce that Rika Sugawara will be formally charged for the arson murder. Sugawara was tied to the stalker murder in July, and she committed the December arson.
So that's the common thread.
Oh, you figured it out already? Did you realize it too?
They're linked to the countdown crimes. There's a connection to the monthly X-Day crimes from April to November, right? What's with that reaction? Wow, Shiraishi, you actually listened to me. Huh? I said that he couldn't mock you without my permission, didn't I? Just now, he totally wanted to, but he held back.
Oh, wow. My job as a profiler, you see. Okazaki is very cunning.
No, so is my answer wrong?
No, you were right. Correct.
So, why do you react like that then? Don't tell me you thought that I definitely wouldn't be able to understand, or that he was impressed that I was able to figure it out with my tiny brain. Yep. It's obviously that. Shiraishi's quite contrarian.
I wonder. I don't want to hear that from you.
Sorry. We're getting off topic. The commonality between December incidents, right?
The former game developer who was executed by gunshot worked on the online game that the victims in August played. The bombing at the Tokyo Metropolitan Police on the 15th targeted the Board of Education for covering up school bullying.
Ah, so that's what the bombing was about.
That's related to the middle school bombing that happened in June.
So in other words, the event that Sanjo warned us about is likely connected to the November homicide.
Exactly.
I was correct to think that the target would be someone related to the police who had been implicated in a past scandal. But there are police scandals that are both known and unknown to the public. You found the scandals that could only be known within the police, right? Ah, yes. I looked up whatever I could, even if they weren't events the public was aware of. There are a lot to look through if we include them all, so we'll need to narrow it down. Police scandals that were publicized and unpublicized. Narrow it down to publicized ones. Oh yeah, because they need to be made an example of, I guess. Sanjo despises police culture, so he'd be interested in unpublicized events. But that wouldn't fit the way that Adonis has been doing things. If Adonis was to provoke the police and stir up public animosity, as they have in the past, then I think they'd want quick results. Yeah, so I think Sanjo is at odds with Adonis because of this issue. Well, for one thing, he seems to be rather disgruntled on a number of matters with them, as far as I can tell. For example, there could be publicly known events that had unnaturally faded from view. In other words, it might be more persuasive to use previously known incidents and claim that the media was manipulated to remove them from view.
I agree. The target is certain to be responsible for an incident that was treated as innocent.
So, if we narrow it down to these, then what sort of person would Keisuke Sanjo target? There are a lot of different scandals. Bribery, fabricating evidence, mistakes. Sanjo would target, let's see, someone who got away with a crime. Sanjo used to be a police officer. He'd be aware that there are officers who lament that tough investigations and unintentional mistakes sometimes lead to damaging consequences. I'm not condoning the mistakes, but if he's experienced that, then I doubt he'd be willing to kill for such reasons. Okazaki nodded in agreement. He has his own beliefs and sense of justice. I could see that much. When he said that, I recalled Sanjo's words.
They claim to be servants of the law, but any crimes committed by officers are swept under the rug, or even spun to the public as heroic tales.
Which means the target is someone who should have been punished for committing a crime, but wasn't charged, and instead remained a police officer.
And that would be it.
Looking at my list, there were 4 people who fit all the conditions. Surprisingly, all of them worked in local police boxes. Ichika, do you know any of them? No, I don't know anyone on the police box duty that I haven't worked with directly. Even though they were stationed in Shinjuku, they were spread out all over the ward.
Shouldn't we begin by letting them know that they're in danger?
We can't trust telephones, so it would be best to inform them personally. Then we should split up. I'll ask Mochida and Saiki to help. No, not Saiki!
Even if you can't tell them everything, they should understand that it's an emergency, if you can get the urgency across.
Well, then again, Saiki might be a help since he might actually want us to succeed. What about the location of the crime? If the target point is along a patrol route, then there are too many to narrow down. Oh, I think we'll be okay on that part. Huh? How so? I've had Yoshinori tailing Sanjo since our meeting yesterday.
Good thinking.
Oh. Sanjo won't be able to slip him. Since when? I was impressed by Okazaki's preparedness. Though if Sanjo had relocated after we left, then it would be impossible to track him. Which meant that Okazaki had already called Yoshinori when we were at the building. Wow, that is some forward thinking. Based on what I saw yesterday, Sanjo's seen his fair share of action, and he looked like he could handle himself. But actually, Yoshinori is way stronger, faster, and braver than he looks, so don't worry about him. Really? Yep, anyone else would have died a dozen times by now.
What, at your hands?
I really don't want to know. It made sense since Yoshinori was an SP officer, but I wouldn't expect it from his demeanor. Nope, not the little puppy dog he is. Ah, you probably thought Yoshinori's the type to trip over himself, and let his target get away, didn't you? No, I wouldn't go that far. Not that far. Ah, and a flower pot would totally drop on his head out of nowhere. Yep, that fits. I hope not. He'd die. But actually, he'd completely dodge it. Surprising, right? Is he really just a lucky fool? For some reason, Okazaki painted a very comically competent image of Yoshinari. So the chances of Sanjo being a red herring meant to distract us while someone else commits the crime are almost zero. Okazaki answered confidently. I think it's very likely that he'll do the job himself. His hatred of cops who twisted justice is deep. He wouldn't leave this to anyone else. But what if Adonis took it out of his hands?
Agreed. I think he'll do it himself too.
Besides, he said this was a contest, so it's only naturally take part. And he does seem like the type to honor his word. I nodded in firm agreement. It was a near certainty that Sanjo would take part in the crime. I'd sensed that he was acting based on his own personal code, and that he had suffered a terrible tragedy in his past. Yeah, I really want to know that story. I didn't think he'd stray from his convictions. But there may be multiple scattered attacks. We should narrow down the possible locations to areas along the target's patrol routes with a connection to past countdown crimes.
Why don't you leave that to Yanagi's team?
Yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking. Give them more work?
So you've made up with Yanagi? Huh, that's boring.
Actually, I think it's really exciting that I'm friends with everyone now. Oh,
except me, right?
Oh, why can't you two be friends? Maybe so. You're kind of hard to deal with.
I've never intended to be friendly. I really have no concept of what you mean when you say friends.
You don't even want to try to be friends, Okazaki? He's like, he wants to be friends with everybody else, just not Shiraishi. Yeah, that's too bad. Sorry. I guess it's his sense of danger. He can totally sense the danger that Shiraishi poses. He knows he's not a good person.
I'm so appreciative I think I might cry. There's no need to apologize.
They were smiling. The barbs that Okazaki and Shiraishi were trading didn't match the wide grins on their faces. This is scary. The chill that ran down my back was so bad that I couldn't even hear what they were saying. So why don't we all get to work? I interrupted their chat out of desperation. They simultaneously turned to me and nodded. Okay, don't worry. I'll be sure to stop this.
I'm interested in the outcome of this game, so I'll help however I can.
Thank you. The plan was set. Once we decided our individual orders, I contacted our allies. Then, the operation would begin once we'd heard from Yoshinari. I guess he must still be on target since, haven't heard from him. Yoshinari told us that Sanjo was making his way towards Shinjuku Garden, so Okazaki started to head there too. Yoshinari and Mochida would be standing by outside the park, just in case anything happened. When did Mochida get in on this? Currently, no civilians were allowed inside Shinjuku Garden. It had been made off limits ever since it was used as the site of the X-Day murders that happened in August. Ever since that point, it had been added to the list of patrol routes of officers that worked in police boxes. There has to be a reason why they picked this place. Yes, I think so too. This was the center of the August incident. And one night, it had been the place where I was collared. Normally, I wouldn't think they'd choose this as a crime scene. It's easy to discover. But Shiraishi said the criminal's behavior suggested they'd come here. If Sanjo picks this place, maybe he just wants to see everything burn. He came here specifically because he knew that the police would know? Part of the theatrical performance is choosing a stage that has symbolism, I guess. I think it's proof he's serious about not running. We talked, waiting for the appointed time. There were only a few minutes left until the target officer was set to arrive. But where's Sanjo at the moment?
Well, nice work.
When Sanjo showed up with an uncannily casual attitude, Okazaki moved in front to protect me from anything.
You're here, which means that you must have narrowed the targets down. Not bad.
You gave us a lot of hints. Your target was supposed to pass through here, wasn't he?
Yeah, that's right. He's the lowest of the low.
Kakeru Shiomi, 25 years old. Formerly on police box duty in another jurisdiction and suspected of sexual assault. He was supposedly a repeat offender. Numerous criminal complaints were filed, but he was never formally charged for any of them. Ugh, that's horrible. Is that right?
Yup. He's the kid of some bigwig, so everything he did was all covered up. They just transferred him instead. A transfer to Tokyo is more like a promotion, a reward for his distinguished service. Normally you'd be convicted or fired. Actually, he might have even been targeted by a revenge hit. Instead, he wasn't discouraged. He just accused his victims of making false charges against him. A bastard like him deserves judgment.
Sanjo's temper was calm, but I could hear the contempt in his words. I stood my ground and watched him, refusing to let myself be intimidated. You had other candidates for judgment as well, but you decided to target the officer who patrols this area.
Oh, you figured that out too. You're sharp, kid. Or maybe one of your profilers psychoanalyzed me.
Both. Why did you pick this place? For its connection to the August homicides?
What about the connection to you?
Yes, there is one. However, even if you picked this place so you could grandstand, Adonis does have a taste for the theatrical, but it doesn't bite off more than it can chew. They always move with a purpose.
Now this is a surprise. So there are still a few cops with some mettle. You're right. I picked this place for a good reason.
And what reason is that?
I was the perp in August.
What did you just say?
Makes sense, doesn't it? You probably figured out the monthly countdowns were all substitution murders. So, I let someone else carry out my revenge, and I got saddled with fulfilling someone else's need for revenge.
The August murders. The players of an online video game had been shot and killed in a series of murders. He did all of them? This event had the highest death toll, next to the June incident. The shooting spanned several days, producing numerous victims, but the killer was never caught. Public trust in the police took a nosedive. The incidents led to the repeal of the Swords and Firearms Control Act in Shinjuku. It was all you? You shot them all in the head.
That's right, I did.
Even if this was revenge from someone, how could you kill so many people you had no issue with?
Huh, girl. You just don't understand. You seem to have gotten the wrong idea about me. Did you empathize with me, thinking that I work off some kind of personal code? Well, Adonis does follow his own idea of justice, so maybe that's true. But murder is murder, no matter how grand or noble the reason. There are no excuses for what I've done.
Sanjo's matter-of-fact words sounded like they were coming from a police officer. But he wasn't one. That meant...
I won't deny that I'm a murderer. Unlike Adonis, I won't try and justify it.
Shiraishi was right. To both the police and Adonis, I'd say you're indifferent to the entire world.
Yeah, I think you feel the same way.
What does he mean?
In August, I killed 15 people. The weight of those 15 dead is far heavier than the wounds I suffered in the past. I don't expect to be forgiven for what I've done.
If you know that, then why?
But who decides the weight of a life? When one is punished for a heinous crime and money changes hands, does it satisfy the bereaved? By law, I certainly deserve the death penalty, but I'm not afraid of death. In fact, death would be a victory.
What? Are you serious? Sanjo's flippantness made me quiver with rage. I started to take an unconscious step toward him when Okazaki blocked me with an arm. Sanjo, you suffered in your past, so you wanted to get revenge. I know your pain. I know the inconsolable suffering of being in the police. Can you truly say you won by making the friends and family of the people you've killed taste that same unfairness.
That's why I did it. Unfair, isn't it? It's the law of the world. I can't forgive it. I've lost faith in the world.
That can't be.
Cyberbullying drove the August killings. People violate the human dignity of others because they're anonymous behind a screen. Are the internet addicts really in the wrong? But the internet isn't some imaginary world. Actions there still have real-world consequences. Trolls forget that, and harass celebs out of envy. They spread lies about the people they don't like. They do whatever they want. There's no controlling what goes on in the vast internet, and in pockets of the net that are places where people do nothing but foster hate. It's all just meaningless fun to them. They sleep well, ignoring the crime's weight, and they wake up to repeat it again. Victory goes to the swift. Isn't that right? A world that allows this is undoubtedly sick.
What I learned by listening to Sanjo was his distrust for society. No, for humanity. And I could tell that at one time he had been a very honorable man. So, you took revenge for the people who were hurt. You killed that many people because they sympathized with the online bullies.
Sympathize? I wasn't that half-assed about it. First off, I only executed the August incident. I never interacted with the guy who requested it.
What do you mean? You never contacted the person you committed the substitute murder for? I don't think any of the people did, as far as I know. Sanjo and the others probably have someone at Adonis directing their actions.
We're basically pawns. We just do what the higher-ups say. In exchange, they promise to make our wishes come true.
You wished for the death of Todoroki.
No.
For a moment, Sanjo was silent. His expression was a mix of pain and recollection, as if he was reliving the past.
Destruction.
But when he looked up again, his eyes were devoid of any human warmth. His lack of hope mirrored his choice of words. He wanted to destroy it all, so he joined Adonis. There was no anger or sadness there. There were eyes that reflected the abyss. In a way, you're the model terrorist.
You're Okazaki from the SP. You want to die, don't you? Like me. Your eyes say you're searching for a place to die.
Okazaki is? He couldn't hide his shock. To think that Okazaki would be just like Sanjo, who only wanted destruction. There was no reason to believe that. How did you know my name?
I looked you up. I'm sure you did likewise.
So, you were listening through the collar. No, maybe you're taking orders from the person who's in control of the collar.
Maybe.
Sanjo smiled boldly. From what Okazaki had said, I'd wondered if Sanjo was the person behind the collar, but that probably wasn't the case. The person behind the collar wasn't the type to risk being exposed. Which meant that Sanjo had been told about the information that the collar had picked up. I understand what you're trying to say, and that you weren't afraid of capture or death. As a police officer, I have to arrest you. But there's something I want you to tell me.
What?
I won your contest, right? I stopped tonight's murder. So I'd like you to keep your end of the bargain.
Huh. After all this, you still don't get it. Nothing I can tell you will be of any value. You'd just be disgusted if I told you everything Todoroki's done, and even if you publicized it, it's not like he could be punished.
I still need to know. As a police officer, I still can't ignore this. There's a blight within the police, and there are people who have been hurt by it. That's all the more reason not to bury it.
I doubt a beat cop like you is going to affect any sort of change.
You might be surprised. I know that. This is just for my own satisfaction. I still want to hear it from you.
Girl, you won't enjoy it. I also don't want to anger the boss.
The boss will be fine with it. He wants me to learn the truth behind the X-Day events.
Though, yeah, he might actually want you to hear this as a way of testing you.
Indeed. Huh? I thought I heard Sanjo whispering something, but he quietly moved his arm. Sanjo drew a gun from his holster. An instant later, Okazaki had also drawn his pistol. He then methodically adjusted his positioning to completely shield me from Sanjo's view with his own body. Okazaki! It's okay, don't worry. I am worried, I don't want you to die.
Nice reflexes. I'd be sorry to kill you. I wouldn't mind having a shootout here, but thanks to you two, things have gotten fun.
Before I could process what he was saying, Okazaki! I heard a gunshot and I dove to the ground. It was a warning shot. He wasn't aiming for us. Sorry, I didn't think he'd deliberately miss, and I was slow to pursue him. He got away. Damn it! Sanjo, I just want to talk! Peering out from behind Okazaki, I saw that Sanjo had disappeared. I want that story right now. I was so looking forward to hearing it. Please don't apologize. Let's follow him. You should stand by outside. We don't know what Sanjo will do next. No, I still have questions for him. I know I'll slow you down, and I'm sorry, but I can shoot if I need to. Please, take me with you. But, although the entrance to the park was sealed off, it was still possible to lose Sanjo's trail in here. I gulped and looked at Okazaki. Please, I trust you to protect me. You know, in the time we had this conversation, he's probably already gone. I have no choice when you put it that way. Whatever you do, don't run out from behind me. Also, don't draw your weapon. Yeah, you know in movies and all these things, they can just stand around and talk as long as they want and never lose track of the person they're chasing. Huh? Sanjo is a skilled shooter. He's more likely to target you if you're armed. But that means you... Consider the situation. You can't be wounded now. Alright. I nodded in agreement, and we headed off in the direction Sanjo had fled. He should have gone this way. Ichika, hide! A bullet impacted the ground about 1 meter in front of Okazaki. Where did that come from? The shadow of that tree. It's okay. I know his position, so he won't just be picked off.
You threw caution to the wind and came after me. You sure are spunky. And reckless.
That's the great thing about her. And I'll protect her so she doesn't have to fear.
A knight in shining armor. I don't know why a guy like you would protect her. Fine. I'll talk about Todoroki.
Huh? I couldn't see the speaker, but his voice had my undivided attention.
Well, it's like I said. He who hits first wins. He destroyed officers' lives for his own political gain. Way back when I was a rookie cop, I might have still believed in the police force and the idea of justice. But any justice I knew quickly crumbled. Every day I was physically abused without reason and blamed for my superiors' mistakes, all while they took credit for my successes. Still, I kept thinking that it was worth it because I was helping people. Then one day, the last straw was laid down. Todoroki's carelessness caused fatalities and a traffic accident.
Ah, so his fate was chosen for a reason.
I was told to go to the funeral, get down on my knees and apologize to the bereaved family. I was already brainwashed and broken, so I just followed his orders, and I knelt in front of the family for a savage tongue-lashing. That was my limit. Why did I put up with it? One day I thought about running away. I heard Todoroki laughing about me to another colleague. I made him kneel as a show of my love. It increased his value. The family got everything off their chests. Didn't it work out great for everyone? That's what he said.
I felt a chill run down my spine as Sanjo told the disturbing tale with utter indifference.
I wasn't angry. Back then, I felt true fear. Todoroki wasn't the only one laughing. My coworkers laughed like they enjoyed the story. They just kept laughing, like they were madmen. They'd probably been put through the same ordeal, but I couldn't think of them as human anymore.
Once he finished, there was silence. Okazaki and I didn't say anything. I can empathize with your position, but that's all the more reason I can't allow this lynching. That was the only earnest remark I could make. Sanjo stepped out from the shadow, gun in hand. Okazaki watched him intently, without letting his guard down.
Then who else will judge them? The police and the law didn't even attempt to. Are you saying we should just let them go?
So, you've decided that you get to judge them in place of the police and law. You judge people based on arbitrary standards. You're sadly mistaken if you think people approve. It'll just lead to anarchy. The world needs the police. It's true the police have scandals and corruption. The law has failed a lot of innocent citizens. But the larger the scale of an organization, the harder it is for it to stay completely clean. You used to be an officer, so you understand how much your protection helped, don't you? If the police were to no longer exist, then all the suffering, damage, and sorrow in Japan would drastically increase.
Thanks for the pretty words, but I don't care about any of that. Whether people cry or suffer after this is none of my concern. I got my revenge. I'm just going to enjoy whatever comes next. And if the rotten police happen to collapse, that'd just be the icing on the cake.
If they happen to, isn't that the same pleasure that your superiors enjoyed? You do understand, I think. That won't satisfy anybody. What you're doing has no purpose. Sanjo glared at Okazaki with narrowed eyes. He raised his chin, but he didn't move.
Oh, I've said this before, didn't I? I already know it's pointless.
So you do. There's no convincing you then.
Okazaki, you have an awful lot of faith in the police. If you think the police must make small sacrifices for the greater good of the organization, then in the end, aren't they just like us terrorists? The goal of Adonis is rebirth. They'll purge all the criminals from this corrupt country. They feel it's a necessary cost to create lasting peace. It means that Adonis will be the ones to keep that peace, not the police.
Looks like we're on parallel paths then.
So it does.
They continued to glare at each other. Sanjo was the first to break the tension.
That fulfills my end of the bargain. You don't need me anymore. Are you going to capture me or let me go? Just do what you want.
Who was the perpetrator of the November incident?
Someone who was a skilled hacker took control of the traffic lights. I'll repeat myself again, but there's really no point to capturing us pawns.
Yeah, that would have been Akito. I figured that a while ago. Yes, there is. Even if you're just a pawn, arresting you could reduce the number of casualties. With that, I bravely took a step forward. Ichika! Okazaki warned me, but I shook my head to indicate that I'd be fine. So, Keisuke Sanjo, I'm placing you under arrest for committing the August murders. It's like she says, I can't imagine that letting you go will help lead us to your organization. Still, I also think there's something off about your claims that you're just a pawn.
What?
The perpetrators of each incident up until November didn't know each other. They all acted to carry out someone else's revenge on Adonis' orders. I know that. Capturing one individual won't affect the group. It's obvious that you'd want to leave no tracks. It would also prevent the pawns from overlapping. Regardless of whether you began as terrorists, if you were vengeful civilians who are being used, Adonis wouldn't want you knowing each other. You probably don't know the other members' faces or names. So working from that, the monthly pawns wouldn't know who she is. Take Rika Sugawara, for example. She was totally shocked when she saw the collar, but she'd obviously never seen Ichika before. Plus, the person behind the collar asked her to investigate the X-Day crimes. If the perpetrators knew about her in advance, they'd be too wary of her to be investigated. But, Sanjo, none of that matches your actions. You know who she is, and what the collar heard. You're not like the other pawns, are you? No, you must be one of the leaders, or you happen to know an Adonis leader.
Good grief.
Sanjo sighed, as if he were admitting to Okazaki's deductions. I must say, Okazaki's deduction surprised me. It certainly made a lot of sense.
I knew you were the type I'd have trouble with. Opposites repel, I suppose. Anyway, because we're the same, I spit on your justice.
As Sanjo spat out those words of contempt. Okazaki! It all happened so fast. Okazaki suddenly lunged in front of me. Then there was a gunshot. His breaths were ragged. Are you alright? You're bleeding. I'm fine, so don't move.
Figures.
I couldn't help but be worried about Okazaki's wound, while Sanjo just laughed. You missed on purpose, knowing that I protect her. You are quite skilled. Did you avoid hitting a vital organ on purpose?
You've been shielding her, so when she stepped out, that gave me the opening I needed. With your skills, you could have shot me, but you prioritized her protection. If you hadn't, you could have mortally wounded me right now.
No!
You don't want the girl to get a scratch, eh? Funny guy. I changed my mind. I don't want to be arrested. I still want to play with you a bit.
Sanjo had stopped speaking to us, but his lips were still moving. He looked like he was quietly muttering something. He's trying to work with us. He doesn't want the caller to hear. What? What did he say? I couldn't hear him from this distance, but it looked like he was about to try something. Okazaki had told me not to, but I decided to reach for my holster. No, Ichika! Well, I hope Okazaki got whatever Sanjo was trying to say. I heard an electronic sound from over in Sanjo's direction. Suddenly, the ground just exploded between all of us. Ichika! I was buffeted by the deafening sound of wind. Okazaki pulled me back and hugged me to shield me from the blast. I could hear a pained voice from above my head. My cheeks felt warm air. I felt a swell of emotion. Okazaki! Okazaki had used his body to block a piece of shrapnel that had been kicked up by the explosion. Oh, he looks terrible. I'm fine. Are you hurt? He looks like he did when he got crushed and Yanagi's out. No, not a scratch. But Okazaki, you... In a panic, I examined him. His shirt was torn to shreds, and there were terrible burns and wounds all over his body. This is terrible. We hadn't even tried to stop the bleeding from the earlier gunshot wound. I'm sorry. This is my fault. It's because I didn't listen and stepped out. This is nothing. Look, I can move my fingers. I can protect you. I'm glad you didn't get hurt. I shook my head in confusion, feeling horribly guilty that he was still smiling at me. I'll give you first aid, and then I'll call an ambulance. Wait, if you set up those bombs from the beginning, then we really can't stay here any longer. It's only a matter of time until the fire spreads, so you should return to the center. But your wounds! I'll be fine. I'm used to stuff like this. Okazaki smiled like he always did. No, it was definitely more strained than usual. What are you saying? Of course that smile didn't help a bit. Anyone could see that he wouldn't be fine. No matter how well he was trained, he'd probably go into shock. How could he possibly smile at a time like this? You might be attacked somewhere else. Tell Mochida not to let anyone in. I will. Alright, we're gonna have to stop the video there. I really want to continue this because I don't like stopping in the middle of action, and I'm really gonna be pissed if, Okazaki doesn't come with me. I'm afraid that while I'm making this call, he's gonna go off by himself. Or he's gonna try to convince me to leave him here and go off by myself. No! Or at least I wouldn't. Well, anyway, hope to see you on the next episode or some of my other videos. And I'd be so grateful for any likes, comments, subscriptions, or shares with your friends to show some support. Thank you so much for joining me, and I wish you all health, happiness, and safety. Dirili signing out. Bye-bye, everybody.